Fine with bacon. I mean, who isn't, really? I guess, like, vegetarians. Okay, I see us. That was fast.
It's pretty sweet, right? Technology is unreal.
Yeah. This is way better than the cans and string I had going on earlier. Alright. Hello and welcome everyone to Gamestate episode 33. It is Monday, March the 18th, and today we are going to talk about GP Utrecht, GP San Diego, and Star City Games DC, as well as a little bit of You Make the Card 4, a little bit of those shenanigans. I am your host, Adam Winners, Ragsdale, and with me, as always, are Glenn Jones, event coverage coordinator for Star City Games.
Hey, everybody.
Stephen Flavel, poker pro and magic enthusiast.
Hello.
And Cedric Phillips, professional magician.
Good afternoon, my friends. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So the first thing we're going to do, while people trickle in to watch our wonderful show, is talk about the exciting You Make the Card 4 runoff, as I know that is first and foremost in everybody's magical mind. I will put the link in the chat, but the results of the You Make the Card 4 election apparently came down to a mere 30 votes between land and enchantment after a hearty Twitter battle and various other competitions in social media. So they have declared a runoff, and there will be a new vote only between land and enchantment. You guys have strong feelings on this issue. Cedric, I will let you begin.
Is this vote not clear-cut enough? Do the 30 votes just not count? I'm confused.
Is it not clear? That was the wrong phrase to lead with there.
I'm a little... I don't understand why we need to have another vote. I'm looking at the numbers right now. I see 23,564 versus 23,538. What's the problem?
So your stated position is that one of those numbers is bigger than the other? Just to make sure we're...
I'm not very good at math, but I feel like I see a winner here in the numbers and the percentages, so I don't know why we need a recount, but yeah, sure, absolutely. This makes, wow, this makes no sense. This is really impressive, I must say. I don't know why they're doing this, but hey, I don't run the show, so yay, let's vote between land and enchantment so land can win again, and then we can start designing our land.
Alright. Glenn, are you team land or team enchantment?
I'm team don't really care, which is a good team. I did go ahead and vote for land just because, whatever. But I wouldn't really mind either one. We discussed last week the storied footsteps of You Make the Cards past, and it's really not a large number of shoes to fill. So, and regarding the runoff, I think that it's actually like possible the numbers are wrong is one of the reasons they're doing it. But I don't know if that even matters, considering like it's super arbitrary and they're in charge anyway. Like it seems like they could just have been like, yeah, this is right, or like just picked a new one. Kind of makes me think that they are like rooting for enchantment. I don't know, because like well, otherwise why bother? Like just say land one. It's like people are like, but what about the margin of error on your statistical breakdown? You're like, no, it's right, we're good. Like that's just as reasonable as the runoff, right? Like, am I crazy?
I think they should have put up some results that were super far apart and then just declared a runoff anyway. Like land got 72% and enchantment got 53%, which adds up to way more than 100%. All right, we're doing a runoff. This is what you get.
I think we did something wrong here.
So basically, I believe that like these numbers could be within a margin of error. I'm just not sure that's like why it matters, or I guess I'm not sure why that matters. Like, it's just You Make the Card, guys. It's not like we're picking the president or anything.
It's exactly like we're picking the president.
All right, Steven, what are your thoughts?
I want to see a runoff between artifact and instant sorcery to see who sucks the most. I feel like
so
if you're going to run off for the winner, you should do that too.
It should be a Survivor-style vote. Like, we should vote things off the island until
I'd be down for that. I think that land is going to beat the shit out of enchantment once all the people who can't vote for artifact have to vote for land instead.
I mean, enchantments are just like artifacts, right? Like
no.
Lucent Luminid would like a word with you.
It took
That's
me
a
a
hell of a
really
card.
embarrassingly long time to realize that Lucent Luminid was an enchantment. Like someone disenchanted it on me like a month after that format went live, and I was like, "You did what? This card is a who?"
It actually took me a while to realize that too, embarrassingly
I just
enough.
thought it was a 5-mana 3/3 flyer, which is like totally fine. Like,
Well, if you look at the art, it's very clearly an enchantment and not a mystical flying creature like
Yeah,
so many other Magic
it is.
cards.
Certainly not a
It is,
Pegasus,
in
you're right.
fact, a big fat flying chicken, if memory serves, something
It's,
like that.
I remember, I'm just like, I guess like the fact that it looks more magical than most magic things means it's supposed to be part enchantment. I don't know. I guess I'll go with that.
Yeah, I hope that we get land. I think that land very easily has the most potential out of a card to make the format interesting.
Do you think if they make a land, they just make a bad land and it doesn't actually do anything?
Well, Badland is a very good land, so
One of my favorite Magic cards.
yeah.
Alright. Yeah, man, I missed that one. It was too tough for me. Alright. Well, I feel we've got about as much wisdom out of this you make the card run off as we're likely to. Let's talk about the Team Limited GP, which was in the Netherlands. Was attended by over 2,000 people. I don't remember exactly how many. Let's see if it says here.
There's like 800 teams, I
Yeah,
thought.
it was a lot of people, which is sweet because Team Limited is awesome. And it was won by a team of Swedish people playing against another team of Swedish people. It was
Wow.
a mono Sweden finals. Is that correct? I'm not. Yes, it is correct.
You can tell from the double S's and the umlaut.
Okay,
The
excellent.
hair strikes again.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah, Swedish Kibler cannot be stopped. Although on this weekend, regular Kibler could also not be stopped. So like the Kibler clan was doing very well.
The dude.
But what we're going to talk about in terms of Team Limited is how Team Limited changes your sealed decks from normal sealed decks and how that affects your Gate Crash Limited decks, because word on the street was that you could see some fairly dirty limited magic in evidence on day one of a Team Limited GP. So, Cedric, how do you think Team Limited affects the sealed build, and do you think it makes Gate Crash a better or worse format?
Definitely worse. I was talking to Huey Jensen about this when I was in Vegas this weekend, and what kind of spurred our conversation was Yelger had posted a picture on Twitter of a Boros deck, and he's like, "Is this just what all the Boros decks look like in Team Limited?" And it was just like all the good red white commons in one deck, and it's just like, because if that's true, this is stupid. And like we were thinking about all the cards, and it's like, yeah, it's like pretty clear. Like the Boros cards go here. The like you're gonna have like a Boros deck, an Orzhov deck, and then a probably like a Simic deck, and then you're just gonna splash like the Gruul cards in your Simic deck, and then your Dimir cards maybe in your what's it called, in your Orzhov deck, and then move on with life. Like it's very unlikely that your Dimir deck is just going to be awesome or whatever, and then it's very unlikely as well that your Gruul deck is just going to be better than your Boros deck or your Orzhov deck or your Simic deck, because like all the commons line up in such a way because you have so many packs that it's just like so easy to pigeonhole those decks. That's part of the reason, like when you're at just a normal Seal tournament, you always see like the Boros decks on the top, you see like Orzhov decks on the top, and then if the Simic deck comes together, you find that one, but you typically don't find a Gruul deck or a Dimir deck, and I mean there's just more packs, so it's just easier to make this happen. So I just feel like you're just going to be pigeonholed like automatically into two decks, which is probably Orzhov and Boros, because those are like the two best decks anyway. And then like you're just going to come across a third deck, and then you're just going to be ramming it into each other, and that's like going to be it. Like if normal sealed is an accurate representation of like team sealed, and normal sealed is like always just playing against Boros and Orzhov like every round pretty much, then I think it's just going to be the same thing. And then the Boros decks are just supercharged, the Orzhov decks are supercharged, and then there's like the third deck, and that's it. So, it seems kind of lame or whatever. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, Huey and I were trying to break it down at his house, and we're just like, how could this possibly go? Like, all the Boros cards that are so good are common anyway, so you're just going to always lean into that, same with Orzhov, and then there's just going to be a third deck, and you don't really know what it's going to be, but I don't know. It seems kind of lame to me. It just seems like playing Gatecrash Sealed which no one likes anyway, and now the decks are just like supercharged because there's more packs, so...
So not a fan is what I'm drawing from that.
I want to be, but it just seems kind of bad.
All right, Glenn, how do you feel about the team element in Gatecrash in particular?
Well, I agree with Cedric's assessment in that it probably just contributes to you making like a nut Boros deck and a pretty good Orzhov deck. And I'll bet it makes sense that Gruul is just like pseudo unplayable in the format just because the other factions can more easily make use of its cards and its synergies are not as powerful. Like when you have a really good Evolve deck, you've got basically a turn 1 Tarmogoyf. When you have like a really good Gruul deck, you have more efficient giant growths. Like one of these things is a lot better than the other. I'm just saying.
I like that Tarmogoyf is so good that like you can play it on turn 2 anyway, but it's impressive to have a turn 1 Tarmogoyf.
Well, and
50% faster.
That's also a big deal.
It's about the ratios.
But and yeah, like that's just that it makes sense. As far as the limited format goes, like I've personally not liked Gatecrash at all, so it's not shocking to me that it would seem even less entertaining to multiply the amount of packs and the amount of rounds and the amount of people playing decks. So that's not that surprising. In fact, 2 weeks prior to Charlotte, I swore off Gatecrash Limited. Said I would not play a match again, and I haven't. So
You're still holding strong?
I am still Gatecrash celibate. Yep.
How long until you get your pin for that?
I don't know. I'll have to talk to my sponsor.
Okay. All right. Steven, tell us about Gatecrash Team Sealed.
Something good about it?
Well,
Like,
you can tell us that you don't like it or you think it's very matchup based. It depends, like where your Boros deck sits down versus where their Boros deck sits down, perhaps.
I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go to the only positive place that I've found in this format. Whoa, that's a large thing someone just posted in
That's
chat.
amazing. Yeah.
All right.
let's-
Distracted, but I'll come. Okay. Back on track. The only positive thing that's come out of this format to me is that I can now call things Demorzov, Orzamir, Borzov is one that I'm a fan of, Grimmick, and Skrull. So my only hope is that Team Sealed could like foster the usage of these terms, because I think that I don't even want to say that it's bad magic because I'm not convinced it's magic at this point. Yeah.
When an eternal witness... Oh, it scrolled up. When an eternal witness into time walk, thou giant growest. That's what I have to
I don't
say
know.
to you.
I don't know what you just said.
I'm not certain either. It was part of the poem that someone posted in chat.
Ah,
To
yes.
you make the card.
So long as men
An
can
ode.
sleep or hands can shuffle.
Is this Shakespearean?
Presumably.
Did Bill himself write this?
It seems
Because
to
I
be.
thought he was dead before you make the card.
No, friend. He's come back for you make the card 4.
Okay.
So you guys are not a fan of the team sealed business? Do you think that the team draft is an upgrade? Do you think that the team limited GPs are still a go, even if team sealed is not the best?
The only positive thing I can say for team draft is that you find out if your deck is good or not 2 packs earlier.
I mean, team draft is still awesome, and I mean team events are still awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is just pretty like this is pretty like classic magical player outlook, right? Like, format sucks. There's a team GP next week. Are we gonna go play? Well, yeah. Like, even though the format's bad, we're still gonna do it and like bitch and complain about it. But I mean, team tournaments are still awesome. Like, the drafting on day 2 is still great. Like, we're still gonna do it. But I mean, just the format's not that good. I don't think that Great Crash is that good of a format in general. But like, if there's a tournament, I'm gonna go play. Like, who are we kidding?
Yeah, like Team Limited is sweet, but I would not have gone to play Triple Gatecrash if it was like an hour from my house, probably.
I don't believe
And-
you.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have. I was considering playing Utrecht. Like, I actually had already priced the flights, and then I played like 3 drafts, and I immediately just put that on ignore. I was like, never gonna do that. Like,
So if it was in Roanoke, you just wouldn't go?
I mean, I probably wouldn't have played. I probably would have gone.
You're You're the worst.
But like Providence is coming up, and I already just don't want to do it. Like I hate Gate Crash so much that even if you reduce it to 33% of my play, I just don't want to be involved.
I don't like being lied to on camera.
Oh.
I don't like it, Glenn.
Well, if you see me at Providence, you can call me a liar.
Oh, I'll see you this weekend, and I will
Okay.
call you a liar. That's right. I'll do it. Shame I have none.
That's a bold threat, sir.
I push through on my threats. This isn't a threat.
I respect that people can find Gate Crash fun. I'm just not one of them. Lots of people like doing stuff that I don't like to do. It's a perfectly normal human way. Lots of people like crystal meth. That's not my thing. It's cool. We can just split those up. We're different target markets.
Fair enough.
Well played. Tough but fair. So would you say that the Team Sealed is more harmful to your health than crystal meth, or less harmful?
Team Sealed is excellent. I have nothing against Team Sealed. I played the Team Sealed GP in California, and it was awesome, even though we did terribly. So, nothing against Team Sealed. Against Gate Crash in general, yeah, like I personally don't like it.
Alright. Okay. Alright, let's talk about modern things. Let's
And you
talk
guys
about...
call me a hater.
Oh joy, something else I love.
Yes, it's all well-loved topics all the time today. Let's talk about GP San Diego, which was won by Nathan Holiday playing Eggs.
You want to talk about hair?
I do not really want to talk about hair, but we
That
could.
hair, his hair is awesome.
It's manly. It is manly hair. I will put the link to the coverage in the chat. Let me go through the top 8 real quick. The top 8 was, in a true modern top 8 fashion, 1 Zoo, 1 Jund with white, 1 Junk, 1 Naya aggro, 1 blue-white-red control, 1 Eggs, 1 Scape Shift, and 1 Affinity, also known as robots. So, we will do the state of the format thing last, I guess. Let's start picking on particular decks. Let's start with Kibler's Naya deck. Wow, Steven, that's amazing. Cedric.
That's amazing.
Kibler's Naya deck. Rock on.
Kibler's Night at Guard. I'll try to recompose myself here. Have you ever seen anything more stereotypical than this deck from Brian Kibler?
It is a very Brian Kibler deck, yes.
This is the most Brian Kibler deck I've ever seen. Just right in his wheelhouse. Is this deck good? Is this deck bad? Who knows? Are you surprised that Kibler went with it? Absolutely not. Is he the only person that'll probably ever win with it? Probably. I mean, it's fine. I don't think it does anything great or poorly. I guess, like, Not Reliquary is a card that did seem like it was starting to get a little bit better over the past couple of weeks. It's too powerful of a card not to really see that much play. The toolbox is getting like a little bit better, basically because does he have Tech Edge in his list somewhere? Oh God, he doesn't. I was about to give him a compliment for having Tech Edge, but it's just nowhere in the 75. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, then this deck's terrible, and and I don't get it. And
cool.
no, I guess like you look at like this deck, which is basically like it's like a different take on Junk because it doesn't have discard, and it's like kind of like a mid-rangey deck, so like it's not Jund either. But I think that Jund is just like significantly worse now. But like if you're gonna be in this range of decks, like doing the green-white thing, I guess I just don't understand why you're not playing Birthing Pod or just like potting out. Just like a little bit weird to me. Like his deck has like a lot of good cards. And I'm going to assume that like if he top 8 that Domri was really good for him because like he didn't play Domri on accident. But I guess I'm a little surprised that like this kind of deck can exist when like it doesn't have a combo kill and it's just fully intent on like grinding you for the most part. So it's like a Jund deck but with less powerful cards because Thoughtseize and Inquisition are retarded and so is Liliana. So why is this deck good?
Was piloted by a good, honest man playing good, honest creatures.
Yeah, I mean,
what
maybe
the coverage
Glenn.
told me.
Maybe Glenn can tell me why this deck's good because it doesn't seem like it's very good. Doesn't seem like it has that good of cards. Glenn, help me.
I actually considered something not very far from this deck in my PTQ prep because I noticed a couple of things. One of which was that like Elspeth and Ajani were awesome. So at first I was trying them like in my Jund deck and It was okay, not too insane. But I also started thinking about like, well, what if I just got rid of the black? Because really at that point I was just playing black for those hand disruption spells. You don't really need Abrupt Decay. You can find other ways to kill things if you really need it. Path to Exile obviously is pretty good against Twin as well. It's just an efficient removal spell. So like I brewed something similar to this in my head. I didn't get quite all the way there. I don't think I had like one Domri or maybe two or something like that, but it makes sense. I imagine they were pretty good for him. And really, I decided not to pursue it further just because I couldn't see myself beating the unfair decks with it. Like, eggs specifically seemed like a large problem in my head, and I imagine that was also true for Kibler. But it's basically heir to the Bloody Zoo deck, if you're familiar with that deck, which Mimex has been doing a bunch of stuff with, or ex-Mimex, on Magic Online. He's the only person I really see playing his deck to any success. But it has some good things going for it. It main decks Blood Moon, which is obviously like either a free win or a blank a lot of the time, and Kibler chose to sideboard it, which I think I agree with that call in this metagame. Like, I don't think you need to main deck Blood Moon. But beyond that, it's just basically, this deck draws a lot of strength from out-Junding Jund, I imagine. And it probably has a good pod matchup, so like if you're trying to fight against a bunch of fair decks, like you've got all these creatures that are immune to lightning bolts, the blue-white-red decks don't want to play against you. Against the pod decks, you have a bunch of removal and Domri, and that seems good. And against the Jund decks, you just have better creatures and Domri, which also seems pretty good as long as you're beating Liliana, which your Loxodon Smiter million mana dork deck is probably fine against Liliana, so.
I guess you're just dead to combo.
Yeah, like that's the issue. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, the last time, because I was PTQ in North Carolina, the last time I was there, I saw people playing like a bunch of Tron and eggs, and I was like, not interested. Like, I don't want someone to just brown me before I even get to play Magic against them.
But if you bring an F6 button, you get to leave.
Yeah. That's true. If you bring an F6 button, you get to leave. I've seen the F6 button used previously, mostly in the Legacy format, though. David Gerhardt was actually known for, on his video matches, writing F6 on his life pad and then just jamming it when his opponent began to do things.
Alright. Steven, I know you had some choice words for this deck earlier in the week.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think that Glenn's analysis was pretty spot on. I think it's a very fair deck, which does well against a number of other fair decks. I want to head speculation off at the pass, though. I think that Domri sucks, and I think Domri sucks in this deck also. And I think that he will always suck forever.
Wow.
You guys want to, that's my
cold.
only comment, guys.
I like Domri. He's cool. I just lost to a Domri today, actually.
There are 25 creatures in the deck, so his +1 actually doesn't do anything. He can make somebody fight someone else once.
Why not twice? Why
Do you
not
think
three?
he can?
Why
Do you
not
think
three
he can
times in a league?
fight the Chromatic Star? Maybe he can fight the Chromatic Star, and that's why he's in the deck.
Chromatic Star is probably the single worst card you can see. When you're playing the Domri deck, right? They play Star and you're just like, oh, god damn it.
Well, no, because you cast your Domri and suddenly combo doesn't beat you, right? Surely that's why we're playing this card. Because it helps us beat the deck that we can't beat.
Look, man, he was just ready. He was scooping the eggs.
Yeah.
Pack it up, pack it in.
I believe he was
Mostly true,
F6ing and leaving the table against eggs.
Yes.
I think he
Precisely.
won. I think he won one of those matches actually.
He did
Where
win a
he
match against
F6.
eggs where the guy just ricked off.
Yeah, just
And
2 games in a row.
sure, but he could have won that match with Mono Red Goblins. He might have been favored more, in fact.
Had the king, taste it.
Yeah, I mean, even his sideboard doesn't really display any specific, I'm here for eggs. He has Stony Silence, but that's, the most beatable piece of hate, I think. Well, I guess Rest in Peace is probably more beatable, but it's close. And they're obviously going to be packing, ready to beat that post board. So, yeah, at that point, you're really just well, you know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Hope it works.
That's a good way to go about building a sideboard.
I mean, the card's good in other places. Specifically, I think his post board matchup against Tron is probably good enough. And that's a a reason enough to bring the Stony Silence. But like against eggs, what can he sideboard to actually make it good enough? You know, I don't think he could do it in the number of slots he was probably interested in using.
I agree.
I guess I don't disagree with you. I don't know. I don't understand why people just aren't trying to beat eggs more.
I mean, you have to use so many slots to beat such a specific thing, and it's like sometimes the deck just beats itself anyway or folds over to worse hate. So like you can just play the worse hate, try and hit those percentages, and you know you would only get paid the other way if you got paired against eggs like 2 maybe 3 times in a tournament. Whereas now you just hope to dodge, and if you take your 1 to 3 times, like oh well, happened.
All right. Well, let's talk about eggs then, and then we can discuss this topic in more detail. I know that eggs won the tournament, as it did the Pro Tour, so clearly eggs is the choice that you want. I will let you guys go off about eggs in general. Specifically, I wanted to ask, do you think we would see more eggs decks if it was not so unpleasant to play and or play against?
I don't even think it's unpleasant to play against. I don't understand why everyone hates it.
I mean, I know I hate streaming when my opponent is playing eggs, because, like...
I love it! I get
Why?
to press F6 and just talk to people.
Yeah, but, like, there's
It's a
nothing going
literal
on. Just
dream
watching
come
this
true.
guy. Like, I'll usually go to, like, a website or something completely unrelated to the match, because, like, there isn't a match anymore. Like, either he's dead or I'm dead. Like, I just have to wait, like, 15 minutes to figure it out.
I absolutely love it. It's just like I get the F6 and then just talk to people in the chat and be like, what's going on? Look at this guy dirling around. Got any questions? I'd love to answer them.
I mean, sure, like, I do that, but I'd rather just, do that and play Magic. I can do both.
I just don't... I don't know. Like everyone has like this problem with like playing its eggs and like the deck's too good and herfy derf and all this stuff. And like I don't think the deck's that hard to beat. I beat it with my super linear like Tron deck all the time, and it's not even like a good matchup. I don't understand why like people just have like this like hatred against this deck because like it takes a while to kill or whatever. Like I don't know. Like I don't feel like that's like a valid complaint. It's like it takes like a long time to kill me eventually. It's just like okay.
I mean, creating a game that people find unpleasant is a reasonable complaint.
I mean, storm decks take a while to kill you sometimes too.
Storm decks do not take nearly as long.
I agree.
think the longest I've ever seen a storm deck take to kill me is still like a third as long as I've died to eggs in the shortest point.
I think you can only make a valid comparison with storm decks if you're willing to include the temporal fissure like pauper storm decks that will like do a bunch of shit, bounce all your stuff, and then be like, some 1/1s, go.
And people do dislike that deck, right? Like,
It's enough.
okay, so we've managed to find 2 decks that are similar and both disliked for the same reasons. That's bizarre.
When I played Pyromancer Ascension when Modern was first released, I had compulsive research as my second win condition. So like people would extract my Singleton Lightning Bolt and I'd just deck them. And my third win condition was a Boomerang. And I never got to, but the hope was that someday someone would extract my Bolt and my compulsive research, and I just bounce all of their permanents, put cards back on top of my deck, and do it 50 more times in the deck. See you
putting
tomorrow
cards back
for
on top of
round
your
2.
deck?
Noxious Revival is what the card's called, I think.
Okay, yeah,
and since you have Pyromancer Ascension
Yeah.
in play, it duplicates, so you get like 4 off.
That
one of
is
them.
an excellent win condition.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't mind playing against eggs and like watching them do their thing. Like, I'd rather. I just don't have a problem with that. That sort of thing has never bothered me. Like, watching a Storm player like cast Mind's Desire for 18, shuffle their deck in between each copy, whatever. Shit just doesn't bother me at all. It's just like
It's not that it like actively bothers me. It's just that I lament I have to experience it. If that makes sense. Like, I'm gonna sit here and do it. It's fine. Like, I've got the internet. It's not a big deal. But I wish that I just didn't have to do that. I just got to do something else instead. That's all. And in a Magic tournament, like, obviously, you just have to, like, sit there and watch. And, like, in IRL, I can only imagine it's, like, actually depressing. I've never played against eggs in real life, so I wouldn't know. But, like, I go to the internet when I have to play against it online, so without the internet, I can imagine I would not find the experience nearly as palatable.
yeah. Kibbler's in the chat. He says you can actually F6 IRL. That's correct. You can actually just pick
As
up your
you have
phone
proven.
and do something.
Well, if you can't actually pick up your phone, that's against the rules of the Magic tournament.
I guess I've been
You'd
breaking
have
the
to
rules
ask
for a
Finkel
long
about
time.
that.
Yeah, I guess I've been breaking the
Verify.
rules for a long time. Yeah, Kibler
Yeah,
just
I was
left
actually
and went
pretty
to the
surprised that they let Kipler leave and go to the bathroom. That seems like a little
Why?
awkward, but
Why would that be
I mean-
surprising?
it's kind of a little weird.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a little weird.
I think it's weird at all. Fuck this. Kill me.
it's weird to let someone leave a match while their
Well,
opponent
like-
continues to perform actions. That is weird.
What
I
if
mean, there's
like
probably
all
a
the
judge
players
there.
asked to leave and go to the bathroom? Like that might be a problem, theoretically.
Do you think we'll get to the point where the eggs player gets to ask the judge to perform his combo?
Can you
While
kill
he goes
him?
to the
Like
bathroom?
look at all this shit I have. He's dead. Can you just?
Maybe we should just invite Wizards R&D to come play the games for us, because they like besotted us with these cards.
I don't know, man. It just doesn't bother me at all.
I mean, I also kind of just question that situation. Like, because he can't get a time extension, right? Like, if he lets his opponent keep taking actions,
Well,
I assume.
if he's in a position to get a time extension, then something has gone very right for him, presumably.
Well, sure, but no, what I'm saying is, like, normally, like, I need to use the bathroom, can we get a time extension? But so, this is like a whole new territory where you can use the bathroom and not get time extensions. And I feel like that has to be, like, somewhat abusable by people. I don't know. I don't know how it would be abused,
I think
but
you're
just
looking-
in my
I
head, I'm
think
like,
you're
that's
looking
probably, like,
way
murky
too-
territory.
I think you're looking way too deeply in the F6 walk away comeback sideboard play game 2. I think you're just looking way too deep into it.
Well, it was
I
certainly...
agree that I'm looking way too deep, but, like, you don't ever find the, like, really messed up crap on top, you know? Like, you gotta go for it.
I suppose that's true.
It was certainly
would
the
you
most
do if-
entertaining bathroom break for the stream viewing audience. Like, and
Sure.
there's something to be said for that, right?
I'll agree.
As an
What would I-
entertainer, it was a truly powerful.
Wait, was this
move.
match on camera?
Yeah, both of them.
Oh, both of them. Wow, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
funny. Wow,
Eggs
especially
make
when they
some
put that on
good
camera. Why would they put on
television.
camera a match that they knew might actually have an F6 pull? That seems just crazy to me.
I love commenting on stuff like that. Like I know like you're anti-high tide or whatever when you're doing the Star City stuff. I just love
I'm not
commenting.
anti-high tide, Cedric. The universe that I cater to is anti-high tide.
I mean,
I'm
we
just a
cater,
business.
we,
Simple
we cater
country.
to this. We
Make it
cater to
over.
the same universe, and then everyone's just like, "I'd love to watch a high tide match."
No, they're not. You look. You understand? Like my job is literally to watch our Twitter. Like I literally get paid.
I'm
to
fully
watch
aware of
the
what your
SCP
job
Live
title is.
Twitter all weekend.
I have a
And
very
the
active Twitter
percentage
as
of
well.
positive high tide comments to negative high tide comments, it's large and it skews the way that you don't think is right.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I see what I see. You see what you see. I see a lot of people who have a high tide.
All right.
Just
So the summary here is Cedric doesn't believe that Eggs is not fun to play against. So I guess presumably he also doesn't believe that this affects the number of people playing it. Is that accurate? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Man, yeah, there was like a whole question you asked. that
There
we just
was, but
have
it
ignored.
got lost. Yeah.
It's gone. Question is gone. What is your question for me now?
Do you think more people would play Eggs if people liked Eggs more? Like,
I don't know.
okay.
That's a hard question.
Completely airballed it. Just did not hit the rim. Did not hit the backboard.
See that ball? That ball's out of here. Over the fence.
All right.
That's
Tough but fair. Glenn, would you like a new kitten?
Would I like a new what?
A new kitten. I'm going with a new question. Would you like a
Oh,
kitten?
no, I don't like cats.
Oh,
I'm not a cat guy.
Cats
Dagger.
fucking suck.
0 for 2. Steven, I don't know what we're gonna do with you. Can you do that thing with your hair again? Like, that's my question for you.
I honestly don't think I can, Adam.
Alright. Tough but fair. You've won this round. Do you have any egg-related commentary before we move on from eggs in general, Steven?
I guess I'll say as a dedicated min-maxer in all aspects of life, you should be like sitting there and making sure they full combo you. Get them that like single warning so that 3 rounds from now they get another warning, and then in the finals they get the game lost.
There will be no benefit to you, but you will get that eggs player. Like,
Every time they cast that Serum Visions, like your ears Hold on. Well, my hair is in the way, but they go up.
Okay. Alright. Tough but fair. Let's talk about Jund and the various and sundry white cards Channel Fireball can put in it.
Woo!
This event they went for a Johnny Vengeant, for the Ajundi pun, which is truly reprehensible.
Yep.
Really bad.
Last time it was Lingering Souls. How do you guys feel about Jund plus various white cards and Channel Fireball's take on it at this event? Cedric.
Seems okay. I mean, like, Josh said, this was like Lingering Souls a couple months ago or whatever. And now I guess they have a Johnny's to like win like the mid-range mirrors, and a Johnny also turns out to be like, it's like okay against Tron, I guess. Like if they play it on turn 3 or whatever. Like if they go like Deathrite and a Liliana and a Johnny, probably can't win. But it seems like it's like a pretty good card, I guess. Just like attacking from like 2 different elements with like Liliana and a Johnny just planeswalkering up is like kind of sweet actually. So. I mean, it seems like it's more for like the mid-range decks, but at the same time, it actually has some uses across like the entire format. So it's probably like a pretty good addition. And I know that like the people who played a Johnny in their deck were like really happy having it in their deck. So it seems kind of sweet. Don't know if it'll last or whatnot because that spot's always changing. Like the 4 mana spot on the curve, everyone was trying like to obviously start with Bloodbraid, and people were just like, oh, you just slot Huntmaster in there and just call it a day and keep killing everyone. And that isn't actually true.
Not the same card.
Yeah, well, oddly enough, it's not the same card. So they just found like a different 4 mana spell to play, which is a Johnny, and that'll probably next week be like Thrun, and then the week after that be like Phyrexian Obliterator, and then
We'll
find some ways to make it work. So we'll see how it goes. But a Johnny seems like kind of sweet. Like all the abilities are obviously good, and I'm sure some people got Armageddon and stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Right. Glenn, Jund.
Yeah, I like a Johnny. I played it in my own PTQ, and I think that right now in the metagame, 4 mana Planeswalkers were just at a really nice sweet spot for being able to dodge Inquisition of Kozilek while being very good against the junk deck that had just risen up. Like, if you're over there trying to cast Loxodon Smiters and your opponent's casting like Elspeths and a Johnny Vengeance, you're going to look really silly. Obviously, one of the junk decks actually had access to Elspeth, so one of the best ways to beat an Elspeth is just playing your own. It's actually one of the more efficient answers to the card. The most efficient being like Thundermaw Hellkites, which, as we saw, like Kibler had access to, and a few other people. I think Willie Edel played Thundermaw Hellkites as well. So, the people who came out on top this weekend definitely shifted to account for the fact that these 4 mana Planeswalkers were good, and simultaneously to account for being able to answer them. So it wasn't surprising to see those decks be the ones that performed.
Alrighty. Steven, Jund, White, Cats.
Dude, I've drafted that card in Cube, and that card is sick.
Yeah.
I really hope that the people who put it in the deck for the first time did it because they'd played it in Cube. Holy crap, that card is sick in Cube. Like, wow. You see the +1, and you think, oh, okay, this isn't it. But it's a real good +1, man.
Alright, thanks for your top-level analysis.
I'm a neg 2, man. I've neg 2 to Johnny a lot.
I can't believe that just
A lot.
happened.
Dude, sometimes you don't even need to neg 2.
Johnny was also part of one of my few flawless victories in Magic during a 3v3 money draft. I think it was against Craig Wesco where I Marshall Cood and a Johnny Vengeant ultimated him in the same turn for the perfect.
Oh, you didn't slow roll him with the Ajani to perfect him? To just be like, well, you have some lands there, and I think we can deal with that.
Yeah, the old flawless victory.
Have you ever done the sudden shock slow roll? Cause that was...
Yeah, I did it in a two-headed giant PTQ actually, where we were playing
Really?
against two guys, and we were like kind of friends with them.
This is a real surprise. Glenn found a way to scum 2 people at once.
No, I wasn't scumming them because they were friends, and we weren't sure if we could draw into top 8, top 4, but we didn't know if they could based on the outcome of another match or something like that.
Ooh.
So we got them down to just 2 life, and then we decided not to attack them for lethal, even though we were really far ahead because they were reasonable friends, and we wanted to see how the outcome of another match happened. But I didn't know them that well, so I was a little concerned that they might just try and win the game at some point. So we held on to the sudden shock for quite a while, And then they didn't try and scum us, but I was being careful.
Yeah, because if they tried to scum you, you were going to get them right back the best way possible.
Yeah. Well,
That's
all of a sudden.
So while you're sudden shock slow rolling someone, you have to respond to the morph, right? Like, because you can get willbendered and then you don't win. How do you
Well,
feel? Like, would you have responded to a morph at any point if they
Yeah.
cast one? All right. That's
I mean,
fair.
if they were blue, obviously, but I don't even think they were.
You're scum, dude.
It's
I
been
don't
a
think-
while.
Scum.
I was gonna say that I didn't think I would do that in a sanctioned match, but you brought up a truly compelling, like, odd case in which you're.
Yeah,
trying
no,
to-
it was one of the most bizarre matches. The best way I played an even more bizarre matchup in the top 4 where we lost because we stormed off Ignite Memories as soon as one of the guys missed a land drop, and he had just forgotten to play a land, and we hit the land like 4 times in his 3-card hand. And they were they won the game at 3 life.
Yes.
That one stung.
Can
That one
we
stung.
can we talk about how awesome Storm was as a mechanic to have in a 2-headed giant format? That was
Really
so
a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
was
fun.
wonderful.
Really.
Kudos,
Well,
kudos.
Volcanic Awakening was by far the most enjoyable
Yeah.
of the Storm cards.
You're not playing anymore. Thanks for coming.
were you guys aware that removed this player from the game? Like, did you know?
Just a little 2-on-1 fast break, that's all.
Oh man, what a trip down memory lane.
Yes, sir.
Literally one of the worst formats I've ever played.
That was a nightmare.
You want to talk about bad.
You did not.
Gatecrafts ain't got shit on that 2HG format.
My favorite part about my deck in that 2-headed giant seal thing was that I had 2 Sprout Swarms, and one of them was foil. So I would purposefully troll people by always playing the other one, like as soon as I drew it, just to put them on tilt. It's like, well, just in case you actually do find a way, you're still
Did you guys ever play against Pestilence in 2-headed giant, like Pyrohemia?
Oh yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a fun one. This is
Absolutely.
how I missed day 2 of the 2-headed giant GP. We were like X and 2 playing the bubble match, and our opponents played Pyrohemia and then refused to kill us for 10 turns until we were literally laughing uncontrollably. It was not pretty, but
It's a blast. Playing
It
against
was-
all those storm cards, Empty the Warrens, Ignite, all of them were just horrible.
yeah.
I thought those were fine and fun.
Sometimes your Brine Elemental needs power level errata, man. That's how your formats go.
Totally.
Alright, let's talk about the overall state of Modern. Obviously, there were 8 different archetypes and 8 different decks in the top 8. We are post Bloodbraid Elf banning. Do you think that Modern is better, worse, or the same after these results? We have the same deck winning, but what do you think about the format overall? Cedric.
I mean, like, I'm fine with Modern because I have a deck that I like, and so that's all that, like, actually matters to me. Like, if I can't find a deck that I don't like, if I can't find a deck to like, then I think the format's just always horrible. Like, Standard, I mean, I understand what the best strategy is, or I don't ever win with it, but, like, I understand what the best strategy is, but since I don't win with it, I hate the format. Modern, I just got my Karns, my Worm Coils, and I just, like, bash some people with it. It feels, like, pretty good, so I like it. But, like, in an objective view, it seems like it's perfectly fine. There's a lot of different decks. I mean, any time that, like, you have 8 different decks in top 8, isn't that just like there's just no, like, argument to be had? It's just like, format's fine. There's a bunch of different decks. It's not ridiculous. Like, Jund isn't winning, like, psycho crazy anymore. Even though I thought the format was fine when Jund was, like, the best deck anyway, too. I think people just bitched and complained a lot about it.
Yeah.
I think the format's fine. Like, you have 8 very different decks doing a lot of different things. You got some scape shifting, you got some eggy poos, you got some robots. Like, a lot of different things are going on here, and you just have to decide what decks you want to beat and build your sideboards right and build your decks right and then know how to play your decks. It's just like normal Magic, really. It's not rock paper scissors. None of the decks are overpowered. They're all beatable. We're healthy.
All right, Glenn. Better, worse, the same.
I like a lot of things about Modern. I would say I even like almost all of the things about Modern. Like building the decks is enjoyable. Like the card pool is really vast and deep and interesting. Like you're always trying to think of new ways to improve whatever you were doing before. There usually is a way. Like you can get edges that way. It's a diverse metagame, but I feel like I think I described it on Twitter earlier this week as just abject despair while playing my matches because there's just so little you can do a lot of the time. And the big part is like the combo decks. Like you just have to build your deck to hedge against so much because there are, like 20 decks. So you're doing the legacy sideboard tactic where you're boarding, really broad cards in an attempt to just gain 5 to 15% wherever you can. And then there are decks that's just like not good enough against most of the time. Eggs is one of those decks. Depending on the deck you're playing, Tron could be one of those decks. And I don't really like having to deal with those issues in the format because, you just get paired against those decks and your tournament's over and you're like, well, I don't think I did anything wrong, but I did die as a result of my choices. So at the same time, where do you go from there if you think you're making the right choice, but your choice is still killing you every time?
All right, Steven?
I think a problem with Magic is that you're only actually meant to win half of your matches. And people want to have a format where they feel like they can play some deck and everything goes perfectly and they win 90% of their matches. But in actuality, in a format like that, somebody else has to be winning 10% of their matches for you to do that. So, I don't even know which of those I want, though. I feel like Modern is much closer to 50 to 60% win rate sort of format, where there are just too many decks to account for, and the strategies that are available to you just don't give you that huge an edge. But I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. I think ultimately the important thing is getting to play Magic, and I feel like sometimes you get to do that in Modern. Perhaps not enough of the time, but
there are definitely some sweet games to happen in Modern, but take the PTQ I went to this weekend, for example. Like the last time I was in North Carolina, there were a lot of Tron decks, so I came very specifically prepared to beat Tron. Was pretty happy with the matchup, and came specifically, knowing I would auto lose to Boggles because that's a deck that I don't respect and it should be underplayed because it's not, a good enough deck generally. And there's 2 Boggle players in the room and 10, 15 Tron players, something like that, and I died of Boggles. And that's fine, there's not really anything you can do about it, but that's the format, you're just trying to dodge the things you can't look at all the time, and that kind of contributes to that 50-50 aspect, because, people are getting kept honest by the fact that people will play the decks even though they want to dodge them, or even when the decks aren't that good, because those are the decks they like to play.
Right. I actually quite like Eggs in Modern right now, because I feel like sitting down with Eggs, I care a lot more about what I'm doing than what my opponent is doing.
Yep.
And you can definitely make some interesting, complex decisions trying to go off with Eggs. So I feel like you get to play Magic, except it's not really Magic, but you get to make decisions in games of Magic a lot of the time playing that deck.
Yeah.
I agree that is a heavy incentive to Eggs.
I think that's why that's why I like Tron so much, because I just don't give a shit what my opponent does any turns of the game.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable to me.
I feel like if you're playing Modern, with just how powerful the decks are and stuff like that, I have no interest in interacting with my opponent and, just doing any of that crap, with Inquisitions and stuff like that. I think there was a time and a place where that was the most powerful deck. I don't think that anymore, so I'd rather just be fucking casting Karn on turn 3 and have my opponent be on the other side of the table going, I really hope you don't have that 3rd Tron land, and then something to do with all that mana. And I don't want to be on that side of the table anymore, because I've been there and it's just not very pleasant. I don't want to be on the side against the Eggs guy, just going, I hope you don't have it or draw into it, because then I'm dead. I'd rather be the guy that's I'd rather be on the other side where they're just hoping I don't have it. So,
I think that's
I don't want to be on either side is the problem in that situation. That's what I don't like about Modern. I don't want to be hoping that they don't have it because I'm just not exactly prepared precisely correctly, and I don't want to be trying to have it either. I just want to cast my guy against your guy and make my bluff and make my spell and we just do our thing.
So I think that a common thing in Magic formats is that you can go under a format or over a format, or you can try to work out somewhere in between where you can find a good deck. And I think that in Modern, there are very clear ways to go under the format and very clear ways to go over the format, but perhaps a problem with Modern is that they're too extreme. You go under the format and you get to a point where you're not really interacting anymore, or you go over the format and again you're not interacting super much anymore. Whereas in perhaps a better format, you're going to play the fastest deck in the format but still have to interact with the other player.
All right.
Same.
You've sufficiently delayed my Triskelion burn for one joke that I no longer feel it's particularly relevant.
Well, I think it's funny.
Good job, everyone. Good job.
Few of you will remember the pain of Triskelion burn for one, but some of us will. I think that roughly covers Modern. We didn't talk a little bit about Junk, which has been very popular and won both the online PTQs in Modern. I think we didn't talk about Blue, White, Red Control, whether we should call the deck Affinity or Robots or Escape Shift, but I mean, they are what they are.
You have to kill me before I call it robots.
Well, I think it's still, as long as we're still playing cards with Affinity, we're alive. Agree, disagree?
I agree. I mean, Thoughtcast is in the deck, right?
Yep.
Affinity it is.
I mean, it's still not, like, a thing.
I will never let them live down their horrific mistake of printing that mechanic.
Yeah, dude. Broodstar is just beating up small children.
That's right. They must realize their mistake for the rest of the time Magic is a game.
Was it Razormane Golem? Affinity for Planes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah,
is.
Even that card was
That card
good.
was insane.
Yeah,
It was quite the limited card.
Affinity for anything, man.
And Tangle Golem was pretty feisty too. They were all good, actually.
Spire Golem? The problem with Spire Golem was you had to play islands.
That's not a problem,
They were all
actually.
fine.
It was a problem when Affinity was in.
Oh, sure.
Alright. I think the worst one was Oxida Golem, right? And it was still fine.
That
Yeah.
one, I don't remember if it saw play.
Saw playing that format.
That was when I started playing Magic, and I started playing Constructed Magic. I started playing Constructed on the advice of Michael J. Flores. I read an article of his, and he said that Mono Blue Control was the best deck in the format. It had the tools to beat Affinity. You just cast March of the Machines on turn 4,
Got
no problem.
Get all your lands.
So whatever, we just buy the cards from Mono Blue Control, lose 10 Qs in a row to Affinity, sell the deck, buy Affinity, and here I am.
So that was before he was throwing Sensei's Divining Tops at people for 5 damage.
That was before
Before then.
Another
He had
powerful
He
stratagem.
broke it open with Inspiration. If you don't remember, it was Inspiration, Annul, Relic, Barrier.
It's so impressive that we remember this.
Well, like, Affinity actually was a control deck before Darksteel. If people remember that. Like, before Darksteel came out,
Yeah, it was Broodstar Affinity with
Star
Assert.
Dog.
Broodstar
Yeah.
Affinity with like 8 to 12 counters was like what
Yeah.
you did. You assert authority their thing. If you had 5 artifacts in play, it was just counterspell but better. And then Darksteel happened, and no longer was Broodstar the king of the castle.
Oh, bad beat.
It actually was, in hindsight, a little bit of a bad beat. Let's let us talk at least a little bit about the Star City DC Standard Open before we move back to Broodstar. It was won by David Bauer with Junk Reanimator in a top 8 of 3 Junk Reanimator decks, or possibly just Junk decks. I only have them down as Junk. 2 Esper decks, 1 Farseek Naya with black, 1 Naya Blitz, and 1 black-white zombies. One special thing of note before we start discussing things, there were 2 separate decks with Undying Evil in them in this top 8. Both the Farseek Naya with black and the... what's the other one? One of the Junk decks, I think? Like the Farseek Junk deck had Undying Evil?
Sure.
I believe that is what happened. Let's talk a little bit about Junk Reanimator again. I know we talked a little bit about it last week. It showed up quite a bit here. It's also been showing up quite a bit online. How do you guys want to fight this deck, or do you want to be playing it? Cedric?
A Reanimator deck won again. A surprise.
Yeah.
This is my surprised face. Shock and awe that an Umbrella Rights deck won again. I can't believe it. Do I want to be playing it? I mean, if it's the right one for next week, like in Kansas City, yeah, then I want to be playing it. Is it the right one? Not entirely sure, but I mean, I've gone over this many times in the past couple weeks. You're just playing Do-Si-Do with what the best Umbrella Rights deck is. For the past 2 weeks, it's been Junk Reanimator. Next week, it might be Crater Hoof. There it is. It might be Peddler Static Caster version. to be able to like take down the Junk Reanimator decks, because that deck's like pretty soft to the Peddler Static combo. It might be Infinite Life, it might be Deck You, but I mean, it's just going to be one of these reanimation decks. Again, I'm looking at the deck list right now. There are non-reanimator decks, like see what's in their sideboard to be able to beat like reanimation strategies. I keep coming across 2 Rest in Peace and nothing else. I see 2 copies of Purify the Grave and like the Esper Control deck by Mark Morrison. The Black-White Zombies deck is on the Dodge plan. That consistently does not work. Not sure if anyone's gotten the memo yet. Trying to dodge doesn't work. And then like this Naya Blitz deck is just hoping to be faster, but like the Junk deck has like Thrag Tusk and stuff, so you can't actually be faster. It also has like an unfair draw as well, and it has no hate in the sideboard. So, I mean, not surprised. Person that played the Junk Reanimator deck too, David Bauer, is like really good at Magic. He doesn't like travel for Magic very much, but he does really well on the Star City circuit. Like does well at the Invitationals. I know he has at least one Invitational top 8. Not sure how many of these things he's won or top 8'd, but I mean he's a consistent name when we're in the DC area and surrounding cities. So when I saw he was in top 8 and like what deck he was playing, I was like, oh, there's your favorite to like win the tournament, and then he did. So I mean, deck's still awesome. You're just gonna keep playing Do-Si-Do with it, and until they ban Unburial Rights, right, Steven? Okay, maybe not.
Alright. Glenn, do you have any further Junk thoughts?
Not really. I mean, obviously it is a good deck, and like Cedric said, people just aren't respecting it. We talked about that last week. Like, you do need to respect it. I've been online seeing like a lot more of the Lotleth Troll version cropping up, which is interesting. So, you know, I mean, just start actually playing to beat this deck. I like the Lotleth Trolls personally. I think that it'll make people trying to beat the deck have some real problems, because it's very difficult to defeat strict Unburial Rights and also a Lotleth Troll, because he is so big. And he's an excellent creature against Forest Reckoner, which is, you know, going down in stock, actually. I think in Standard right now, the decks that are succeeding are quite good against a Boros Reckoner, or specifically, like, don't care that much about him, at least. So that appears to be the direction we're headed.
Yeah, Junk, if anyone is wondering what's big online, my impression right now is that Junk is fairly big, and Jund is, like, probably the biggest, most played deck online right now. A lot of Jund decks doing all the dailies. Steven, Junk Reanimator.
I think the thing about Junk Reanimator is that Unburial Rights is a very good card, and it's just a really good card. Like, can I field any further questions? I would not be surprised if Unburial Rights started showing up in other... I mean, it's already showing up in the white-black-red, like, aggressive deck with Fateless Looting. It's playing Unburial Rights. I think that it's just a very strong card in the format, and whether you're playing a strategy built completely around it or just playing one of the mid-range plus decks which are strong in the format, having like 2 copies of an amazing creature is pretty much always amazing.
Alright. And I would like you guys to speak briefly, but specifically, on the topic of Undying Evil. Cedric?
It's adorable.
Will we see more
No.
Undying Evils? Will it spread throughout the format?
No. You
Cedric,
said briefly. You
You're
said
a
briefly.
Grinch.
You said briefly. I did what you told me to do.
Alright, Glenn. More Undying
Well,
Evils?
I did my due diligence before the show. You know, I spent the last couple days playing around with the Naya deck that had Undying Evil in it, getting a feel for things. You know, I wanted to have a well-informed opinion before I came on here and talked.
I
And
appreciate that.
yeah, I think it's pretty good, actually. Granted, it gets a lot worse when people see it coming, because then they just don't ever like do anything, or specifically they do things like as soon as you tap out and are waiting. But yeah, it worked out fine for me in the games I was playing. Anytime that you save a Thragtusk, Restoration Angel, or Aurelia, like the game is effectively over, because those cards were already like, I mean, Thragtusk was obviously like pretty easy to kill, but when it gets back, it's so much value. Whereas Restoration Angel and Aurelia are both just specifically difficult creatures to kill, and having to do it twice, especially when they get bigger, not exciting. So.
Alright. Steven, are you expecting broad applications for Undying Evil?
I think Undying Evil is really interesting because it's a case of sort of a very specific card showing up in a constructed format. And I think that that doesn't happen anywhere near as much as it should in constructed formats. There are so many different sorts of weird tricks that you could play, and the tendency is for people to settle on an established 75 card list and maybe tweak it a little bit with the playables of the format, but not have access to the effects that nobody's really looking for. And I think that that's wrong. I think that when you sit down to play Magic, your opponent should have to worry that you have all sorts of weird effects that he's not used to playing against. And Undying Evil is a really good example of one of those effects. And I think people should be playing more cards like this, not regularly because that would defeat the entire purpose, but they should be showing up in top 8 lists all the time, just as a way to catch someone off guard.
Do you think that, as a recent example of that phenomenon, Joel Larson's One Moment of Heroism in his main deck is a similar thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good call.
Okay. So you're looking for more things like that? I think that's definitely something which has picked up over the last, like maybe 5 years is too long, but 5 years of Magic deck design is that people tend to diversify their threats and have more weird shit now than they used to.
We saw
I think
it a lot with...
Snapcaster Mage taught like a master class in it, to be honest.
That's a good point. I think we saw it a lot in the Delver era, where there were just a lot of cards that you could add one or two of, and it would completely change how the matchup was played with all of the card selection that you had.
Sometimes you just put 2 Consecrated Sphinxes in your deck, and then you cast them and they were dead.
Sometimes you put 1 in and a Frost Titan.
Oh yeah,
Sometimes
that's true.
they copy your Consecrated
Did
Sphinx.
that as well. Alright. So let's kick it over to the Legacy Grab Bag, I guess, unless you guys have more standard things to talk about. I could bring up Zombies again, because every week you say it's terrible, and then it makes another top 8, so I'm kind of enjoying it.
Oh, I like the black-white zombies. I think that deck's fine.
Okay, so it's only the one playing Aristocrat and Dreg
It's only the non-black-white. Is that a... Yeah, non-black-white. I like black-white.
Not ours off.
Well, the black
I've been trying to make that one... Like, I've been thinking about putting that one together online myself for a while, so...
I don't know if I love the black-white zombies deck, but I do love decks that can cast Obsidat, because casting that card makes it immediately obvious to you how insane that card is. Like, holy crap, it is hard to lose when you cast that.
I think he was actually the big card of this top 8. Like, there were a bunch of Obsidats in that top 8. He's just a very good card.
Black-white zombies can't actually cast Obsidat. Tough but fair.
It's rude.
Alright. I will ask now for our traditional moment of silence for a hopefully successfully volume adjusted kazoo for the Legacy Grab Bag.
The louder the better.
Alright. The Legacy Open was won by the Epic Storm. Let me pull up the man in question. Bryant Cook won the Legacy Open with the Epic Storm over a blue-white-red Delver deck with Geist of Saint-Traft in the finals. I'm not going to go through the whole top 8. I will leave you guys to pick your things, and we will discuss from there. Cedric, you may begin. Pick your thing.
Ship that Metalworker. I love it when a Metalworker deck does well, because it's very bad, and people will consider playing it, and it's actually fun to have on camera. It's actually one of the more fun decks to have on camera, honestly, because when you're commenting on it and it does its thing, you're like, oh my god, turn 1, Metalworker, turn 2, Jesus Christ, it's over. And then when it doesn't do its thing, it's also fun to comment on, because they're just like, Metalworker, and when it's like, kill it. And the other guy's like, Jesus, I'm dead. I can't do anything. And so then I have to just talk about could you imagine if he had a Metalworker in play? Then he'd have a Darksteel Colossus in play. Oh crap. But his opponent did something. So both sides. So commentating on both sides is deck's awesome. Because when it does its thing, it's sweet, and then when it doesn't, it's so embarrassing that you just get to talk about like how bad it is, or you can imagine how good it would be if your opponent didn't do something to it. It's a great deck. I wish we had more of it on camera because it's so bad. It is, wow, is it bad.
So you want to see more Metalworker decks exclusively piloted by other people?
Yeah. Like my first show in Columbus when I was with Joey Pasco last year in June. Like we had a Metalworker deck losing the finals, and he played against Todd playing Hypergenesis, and Todd like could either cast Hypergenesis or cast Show and Tell, and he's just like in the tank forever. He finally just cast Show and Tell.
Oh, I remember this.
And I think the guy like Todd put a giant thing into play, and then the dude put in like Spine of Isha, I think, and then just killed this guy.
And he beat the shit out of it. It was great.
And the guy had no lands or whatever. He had like a City of Traders. Or it's either that or like Todd casts Hypergenesis, and Todd's like, "Yeah, let's do this."
That's right. He cast Eureka, and the other dude just crushed him.
Yeah,
he was like, "I have these things." The other guy was like, "Whoop!"
Yeah, the other guy's just like, Spine, Battle Sphere, Forge Master, search for like my Sundering Titan or whatever. And Todd's just like, "I only have a Gristle Brand. This sucks." And it was just great. It makes for good TV. I enjoy that. I enjoy that. That's about all good that comes from this.
That is good television. Show and Tell is just mono good times. Like the no land victory, the oh shit he had more stuff than me victory on Hypergenesis. It's all great TV.
Yeah, it's awesome always.
All right, Glenn, what would you like to choose?
I'm gonna pick the second place list, Benjamin Green's blue, white, red Delver deck.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's actually labeled as blue-red Delver, it's significantly more interesting. I've corrected that myself just a few moments ago. So
Glenn labeled it wrong. Glenn sucks at his job.
Whoa! I wasn't even there this weekend. It's just rude. Not even my job. There's like 3 other people who do. But it's kind of interesting. It's like a weird mix between blue-red Delver and Rug. Except that it goes into white, obviously, but like it has like some of the pluses and minuses of both of those decks. The thing is, like, I think it's mostly just minuses. Like, you get Geist of St. Traft, and he's cool, but I don't know how much better he is than like Nimble Mongoose and Tarmogoyf. Like, it seems like together they can do a pretty good, Geist of St. Traft impression. And Swords to Plowshares is like the real incentive because Blue-Red Delver has a lot of trouble against Tarmogoyf. Rug Delver would obviously like a better way to force its Tarmogoyfs through opposing Tarmogoyfs. So Swords, it answers that call pretty well. But it seems like you're really light on threats in this particular version of the deck. But it's definitely interesting. The sideboard options are nice. You get access to white, which is one of the better sideboard options. But he's only using it for Rest in Peace and Disenchant, which, like, in this deck, I don't even know if I would want Disenchant. I feel like I would just go for Smash to Smithereens. I don't know which enchantment I need to hit that often. Maybe there is one. Maybe I'm just being silly. I can't really think of one. It's obviously not opposing Rest in Pieces if I'm willing to bring it in myself. And it's also bizarre that this is a deck that does not feature Snapcaster Mage, which that's, I think, its most weird thing. But I feel like everyone sat up at the same time when I said that. But yeah, that's my pick for the deck.
Alright, tough but fair. Oh man, Sulfur Elemental makes your guys so angry. You get to come in for 8? That's lovely. Alright, Steven, pick a thing.
That's a nice hat.
So, like, before I pick my actual thing, I noticed that there are only 10 Force of Wills main deck in this top 8. Is that... What do you think the average number of main deck Force of Wills in a Legacy top 8 is these days?
Were you aware that a combo deck won? There may be a correlation.
Ooh. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I feel like 10 is a little low, but not that low.
Pretty low.
I mean, it seems like it's kind of low, but people have been skipping on Force of Wills for a little while now, so I'm not like too surprised.
I think that that's right. I think that they should be skipping on Force of Wills. I'm sort of pleased to see that. There are some in the sideboards, and there are some lurking in the top 16 for sure. But yeah, I think that makes for more exciting Magic. My shout out for this Legacy goes to the Singleton main deck Tarfire in the 11th place Goblins list. because they printed that card and nobody gave it a chance.
Bullshit.
I found one
It
person
only-
who gave it a chance.
Okay, one person gave it a chance.
Dark Lord Phillips gave that card a chance.
I had one in my main deck and one. I had two in my main deck and one in my sideboard at Invitational. Get off me!
How'd you do at the Invitational,
I
Cedric?
lost playing for top 8 twice. I hate you.
Should have played 3. Should have
Yep.
played 3.
Oh man, this guy's got a Pyromancer in his main deck. That card is so fun. I love Pyromancer and Goblins.
Yeah, I think that this Goblins list looks sweet.
I'm like, not sure if I'm willing to believe Pyromancer is good, but it is so fun.
We've got some Gatecrash cards. Nobody looked at Gatecrash and thought that Legion Loyalist was the one that was going to be breaking through in Legacy, right?
I mean, some people did, but they mostly got made fun of.
Right.
So
Did anybody look at
I
Gatecrash
guess
and remember
jokes
what?
on other people? I don't know. I still don't think it's very good. So
Haste.
But
Raging
it's
Goblin in the
trying.
house.
Like, that's what I think when I look at a Goblins list. I think, look at these guys. They're trying.
It's true. We like to handicap ourselves, the Goblin tribe.
Yeah.
We like to make
The
things
Scourger
very difficult.
was quite okay and limited. It was... I mean, I didn't really want 2, but, you know.
No, you definitely wanted 2. That is some bullshit. I call.
Okay, I don't remember that format.
You wanted 2 Sting Scourgers. You wanted like fucking 4 Sting
Yeah,
I
Sting
Scourgers.
Scourger
don't
was
want
the
to have
nut.
to pay the Echo for 2 of them.
sweet card.
F the Echo. Bounce your guy, keep bashing you.
Yeah.
Business them.
That's what you did with Sting Scourger. You delivered the business.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. That's good. That's good work, everyone. We've done good show. Let's do shoutouts and get out of Dodge, everyone. Cedric, shout out to the people.
Shouting out to the people. I have to put a link in the chat right now, too. I got a couple shout-outs here. First of all, thanks for watching, obviously. Appreciate it, you guys. I am going to be streaming Wednesday and Thursday of this week. I will not be streaming tomorrow because I'm going to San Diego after this. I'm actually going to be driving to the airport because I'm going to be doing some secret hidden work for Cryptozoic Entertainment. I cannot tell you about it right now, but yeah. So I didn't even say that either. I'm not going anywhere to do anything. But I also have
Well
this
played.
cool little March Madness bracket that's going on right now, and I'm giving away some stuff. I'm giving away a box of Gatecrash, a $100 gift certificate to MGGO traders, and $25 gift certificate to Ink Playmats. So I'm going to link that in the chat for you guys. That's the first place prize. So if you guys like March Madness and brackets and shit, we're giving away some stuff. I'll be back on Wednesday and Thursday to stream, and then I'll be in Kansas City with Glenjamin Jones and AJ Soccer doing coverage this weekend. So that's it, and that's all.
Alrighty. Glenn?
Assuming my house doesn't fall down around me.
Yeah, I don't know what's going
Glenn
on.
and Associates?
Actually, we just added a new roommate. CVM is now in Roanoke, working for SEG, and I assume he's assembling his bed or some other contraption. But one of those two things. So I will indeed be in Kansas City working this weekend. As far as the week goes, not doing a whole lot. I imagine I'll be streaming a little bit more. We just started streaming Blue Red Delver last week, which I've done nothing but cash dailies with so far, so it's a nice change of pace from my usual Magic, which involves significantly more losing. I imagine I'll try and stream on Wednesdays and Thursdays during the day, like towards the afternoon. And that is my basic plan for the next 5 days or so. So see you guys when you're watching Kansas City.
Alright, Steven.
Hello, everybody. I want to shout out to my hair for being able to do that. I didn't think my hair would be able to do that.
It was
No.
very impressive.
I can't do the Swedish Kibler hair. But
Well,
at least
that
you
attitude.
can. I don't think anyone can.
at least I found one talent. Thanks for watching, everybody. I've enjoyed this show a lot, and I will see you next week.
Alright, and I will just say thanks for watching. I didn't stream a ton last week. I'm engaged in some desperate online bankroll building in an attempt to be able to perhaps actually build a standard deck and find one that I don't hate, perhaps. but I'm just like murdering people with robots in Pauper right now. So I'll maybe get back to streaming things once I have some magical online dollars. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace out, yo.